Good morning, everyone. It's a frosty Tuesday morning, and back from the Christmas, New Year's break, all that good stuff, and getting back on these morning vlogs. This first one's going to do a morning musing, so it's the personal side of things, personal topics, just whatever I think of to talk, not specifically about real estate. And on this one, I was thinking about maybe doing a short series on some of my main takeaways from living in other countries and speaking other languages, and then coming back to the United States after living in these other countries and sort of being able to see the U.S. With new eyes. And the first one, which is very superficially real estate related, is space. Just how much space Americans are used to. It's one of those things where, like, you don't know what you don't know. But Japan, Germany, China, Zimbabwe as well. My partner's mother's family is from Zimbabwe, so we've been there a couple times. And yeah, most other countries, most people in other countries do not have as much space in terms of their personal property, their estate property, as the U.S. does. That's regardless of class. I mean, to have a larger, American-sized, like, large house with complicated eave structure, high ceilings, multiple rooms, some of which you don't really go in because, it's your, lounge area that you just entertain in or something. That can be a wealthy person situation in a lot of other countries, and it's like a lower to middle class U.S. experience. And yards as well, how much space you have, front or back, is just different. Of course, it depends on where you go, how extreme this difference is going to be. Like Japan is a lot more crowded. Space is at a higher premium than like a lot of European countries. But Japanese solved this being an island issue by building up and down. So not uncommon in urban spaces in Japan to have, a different store for each floor. So you got your ground floor, that's one store, and then every stairwell you go up is a different store. Sometimes there's a common theme, maybe it's like comic books and then figurines and then something, it's like a anime kind of general approach, and each store specializes in something else. Sometimes it can be pretty varied, cafe on the front floor, and then retail, like clothing store, floors 2 through 4, and then restaurant on the top. Just depends. You can also go down in Japan. There's many places you can go underground, and there's like a little shopping mall underground. It's a very cool experience. But coming back to the U.S., you drive around and you just see how far apart from each other the buildings are. And in people's homes, not necessarily how many rooms they have, but just how much space you walk through before you get to something you use. Or like corners that just have something decorative in them. They're just a lot more space in general. So that's interesting. I think there, economics has a lot to do with this. So I think when the U.S. is experiencing, more economic hardship, people are motivated to move in together, split the rent with a friend, or find a roommate. I'm seeing more posts like that in some of the higher cost of living areas. looking for a roommate to share, et cetera, et cetera. Common kitchen, common bath, but private bedrooms, room by the room structures, or stay with your parents longer, or move back in with your parents and share those expenses, and therefore share the space. And I think for a lot of Americans, there's this experience of like, I've lost the game I was supposed to win by having my own space and my own bills and being on my own. That sort of like American independence, individualism has a big effect on that. But I think what people do in response to hard economic times in the U.S. is what most people in the world just do as a normal practice. Um, Perhaps more so in certain cultures, Spanish, Indian, Asian cultures, have more communal living on tighter spaces, and you stay with your family, and that's what you do. That's part of like being there to take care of the elderly, and being part of that important family unit. But it's an interesting thing to come back and see that reality. Whereas growing up here, you're just like, this is how much space people have. This is normal, you know? Yeah. So, anyway, morning musings and Much Ado About Real Estate coming up soon. Thanks. Bye.